The 10th generation Honda Civic made its debut 2 years ago, and it presented a bold, radical, and revolutionary change from the typically conservative Civic line. But 2 years down the line, the new car luster is pretty much gone, and the hype has passed it. So the question now is this: will the Civic, even after these 2 years, continue to impress? Now, time certainly hasn't faded the Honda Civic's bold looks. For starters, you have this slim headlight, which is powered by LEDs, and this accent that goes around the headlight, which merges into the grille, finished in black too, to give it a sporty look. Also, there's a ton of creases and lines to give it a bit more aggression. And overall, it's certainly not the Civic from the past. There's no denying the new Civic is a large car. In fact, it's larger than a 1990s Honda Civic. Although you have to give props to Honda for hiding those dimensions rather well. You have this sleek and swoopy styling. It's almost like a coupe even. You have these 17-inch alloy wheels, which is exclusive to this RS variant. And you have these slim windows to further accent its lower, longer, wider looking stance. Of course, right down the sides here at the doors, it's all about minimalism. And I say that's a good thing because it makes the car look a bit cleaner. Now let's go check out the back. Now it's here at the back where things get a little bit controversial. And I say it's because of these C-shaped taillights. Now some like it because it makes it look bold and aggressive just like the front end, while others say it's overstyled, as they say. Now I say, well, it's a bit of both. It's overstyled, but it's actually well executed. And at the bottom here, there's more styling tidbits and gentle creases as well to make it match the front end's aggression. Now, I do wish Honda had the option to not have this rear wing attached to the RS, which comes standard. Inside the new Civic, Honda paid a lot of attention to touch points, or parts where your hands usually go. That means the face of the dash is soft, and so is the top of the dashboard. Now, every button you press and every dial you turn has a reassuring deftness to it, as if it's made from high quality. Also, even the gear shifters are wrapped in leather, and so is the steering wheel. Now, the parts where your hands don't usually go, they're made of hard plastic, but then again, your hands rarely go there in the first place. Inside there's a lot of storage space, and you have this pretty deep cup holder and a large storage space under this armrest. There's even more space up here by the shifter and down here, which passes through the driver and passenger's legs. Now, as for design, it seems to be lifted out from the Honda HR-V, although to a lesser extent. You have this waterfall effect right in the dash fascia, which runs all the way through here to the center console. Also, it tilts the infotainment screen slightly upwards, which somewhat reduces glare. Loads of equipment here too. You have buttons on the steering wheel for cruise control and audio controls. And there's even Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard. Plus, you have this brushed aluminum effect trimming, which, when you touch it, almost feels like the real thing. In the RS, you get leather seats as standard, as well as a power-adjustable driver's seat. Like the 1.8e, the RS gets a fully digital instrument cluster, but unlike the base model, it gets red highlights. Now, the infotainment system also houses the automatic climate control. Now, I do wish Honda would separate that from the infotainment system, just so I don't have to dig into other sub-menus just to adjust the air conditioning. But other than that, it looks great up here in front. But what about at the back? Let's go check it out. It's large on the outside, so therefore you expect a lot of space inside, and Honda delivers on that front. There's a lot of legroom here inside, but do note that this is in my driving position. I'm about 5'4". If anyone taller than me sits up in front, then my legroom will probably be right about here, which is still a decent amount. There's a lot of toe room as well. Also, the coupe-like styling doesn't really compromise on headroom either. I still have about this much headroom, despite that sleek roofline. Also, lots of drinks holders. You have one in the armrest and two more in each of the doors for bottle holders. One thing I do wish is that it came with rear air conditioning vents. Yes, the front air conditioning units are powerful enough, but a little extra ventilation would help a little bit more. Now, what about the trunk? Let's go check that out too. Now, don't let the sleek profile fool you. It's still a sizable trunk in here. The boot floor is low, and it's long enough to accommodate a pretty big golf bag. And if that's still not enough for you, simply pull this tab to make for a longer cargo area. As everyone knows by now, the new Civic RS is powered by a 1.5-liter turbocharged iVTEC engine. It makes 173 horsepower and 220 Nm of torque. Transmission is a continuously variable unit with paddle shifters for those who want some form of manual control. Sitting here in traffic, you'll take time to appreciate the small details in the Honda Civic. First of all, you got these really rather comfortable seats, which kind of look like Baymax from Big Hero 6. Of course, the funny looks aside, it offers a pretty fair amount of lumbar support and under-thigh support, regardless of your height. Also, I do appreciate the rather cool air conditioning, which works really well even when you set it in its lowest setting. Noise isolation in the Civic is fair. Wind noise is actually pretty well cancelled out. But tire noise seems to be pretty prominent, thanks in part to those low-profile tires. If you opt for the 1.8e, which is priced lower as well, it's a bit quieter inside the cabin, and it's also a bit softer compared to this RS model. It seems as though Honda made some tweaks to the suspension to make it a bit firmer and thus a bit sportier. It doesn't compromise comfort in any way though, and that's a good thing. And that brings me neatly to the handling and performance of the new Civic. Now, it's not exactly the sharpest car to drive in its class. I think that title belongs to the Mazda 3, although the dynamics of the Civic is up there. It's no longer the soft and flabby handling Civic of the past two generations. It's actually more taut and sharper to drive than before. Granted, it's no Civic SIR. I don't think it'll ever be one. Although if you're looking for an involving car that's reasonably comfortable, the Civic is a good choice. Now, this isn't the first time Honda's ever put a turbo in a production car. In fact, they did it in the late 80s with the first generation Honda Legend. But thanks to advancements in technology, you can now pair a turbo with a continuously variable transmission, or a CVT. Now, one would expect it to be a little jerky or a little too sudden in application. But the good thing here is the CVT catches a bit of that initial boost of the turbo, and what you end up with is a constant surge towards the cruising speed. And that's a good thing. It doesn't jolt the passengers, it doesn't shock anyone either. It's very smooth, it's very linear. And it almost feels like you're driving a 2-liter naturally aspirated car. Now, usual logic would dictate that putting a turbo in an engine would make it drink more fuel, but that's not necessarily the case in the Civic RS. In fact, I'm doing 9.1 kilometers per liter while averaging 19 kilometers per hour, so it's relatively heavy traffic. Out on the highway, you're seeing figures up to 15 to 16 kilometers per liter. So basically, you have about the same consumption as a 1600cc or 1800cc engine, while offering the performance of a 2-liter. And I say that's a pretty good compromise. Now, some of you might want a 6-speed manual transmission with this. Unfortunately, the only way to get a manual transmission in a Civic is with a Type R. When the 10th generation model came out 2 years ago, we said that the fun side of the Civic came back. The same still rings true today. It's still fun to drive, and it doesn't compromise on practicality nor fuel economy. And I say that's a great thing. If there's one thing not to like about the Civic though, it's probably the price. At 1,576,000 pesos, it's pretty pricey for a sedan. But then again, if it makes you feel good and you like that turbo power, then by all means go for it. You're not gonna regret it.